Have you ever felt like you're walking a path meant just for you, even though it sometimes feels incredibly lonely? Maybe you've wondered why it seems like you're facing this journey without many friends by your side. Well, you're not alone in feeling alone. And here's something you might not have considered: you might just be the chosen one. Imagine, for a moment, all those heroes in the Bible. Think about Moses, who spent years in the desert, or Elijah, who confronted his challenges in solitude on Mount Horeb. These weren't just old stories. They were real people, feeling real emotions, much like you. They probably felt lonely, misunderstood, maybe even outcast. But here's the thing: they were chosen for a divine purpose, just like you might be. Now, I know what you're thinking. Am I really like Moses or Elijah? Well, why not? Each of us has a unique path, a calling that only we can fulfill. And yes, that path can sometimes be a lonely one, because it's not crowded. Not many are called to walk it, but you are. This isn't just about solitude, it's about preparation. It's about being set apart to receive strength, wisdom, and direction that you can't get in the hustle and bustle of a crowded room. So, if you've ever felt alone or misunderstood, consider this: maybe it's not about being isolated. Maybe it's about being insulated, protected, prepared for something extraordinary. Stick with us for the next few minutes as we explore the 10 reasons why the chosen one is always alone and has no friends. It's not just a list. It's a journey into understanding how your solitude might actually be your training ground for greatness. Let's dive in and discover how what feels like loneliness is often a mask for something much more powerful. Are you ready? Let's get started. The first reason why the chosen one is always alone and has no friends is because they are called to a higher purpose. Let's start by taking a look at some of the great figures from the Bible. Consider Moses, for example. Before he could lead the Israelites out of Egypt, Moses spent 40 years in the desert. Those long years of solitude were not just a time of separation, but a profound period of preparation, where he was called by God through the burning bush. This idea of being set apart is not just about physical loneliness. It's about being prepared for a mission that is much larger than oneself. When you are called to a significant purpose, sometimes it requires stepping away from the crowd to better listen and align with God's plans. It can be a lonely path, but it is often necessary for those who are chosen to lead or deliver a divine message. Now, think about John the Baptist, another perfect example. He lived in the wilderness, away from the comforts and social structures of the city. His life was about paving the way for Jesus, a task that no one else could fulfill. John's isolation was crucial for him to develop a voice that would later command the attention of many, calling them to repentance and preparing them for the coming of Christ. So, why does this matter to us? Well, if you ever feel like you're on the outside looking in, or if your faith journey seems lonelier than you expected, consider that maybe, just maybe, you're being prepared for something extraordinary. The quiet moments, the feelings of isolation, these might be shaping you into the person you need to become to fulfill your unique purpose. It's not easy, I know. Feeling alone can be profoundly challenging, especially when you can't see the end result. But take heart. Remember that God often uses our seasons of solitude to speak to us the loudest. Your higher calling might require a path less traveled, but it is a path filled with profound potential and purpose. So, the next time you find yourself alone, instead of feeling disconnected, consider that you might just be in preparation for something great. Embrace your journey and know that your steps are being guided towards a higher purpose. And remember, you're in good company with many of the heroes of faith who have walked this path before you. The second reason why the chosen one is always alone and has no friends is divine protection. When we think about divine protection, it might not immediately click why isolation plays a role in this. But let's delve into it. Imagine, for a moment, the life of Jesus. Even he, in his perfect communion with the Father, often withdrew to lonely places to pray, as we read in Luke 5:16. This wasn't just about solitude for reflection. It was also about protecting his spiritual integrity from the chaos and demands of the world. This concept of divine protection through isolation can be seen throughout the Bible. It's about creating a barrier between oneself and potential distractions or harmful influences that could derail God's plans. By being alone, many biblical figures were shielded from societal pressures, misguided advice, or even physical dangers that could compromise their divine missions. Think about Noah, who was set apart to build the ark. Consider the ridicule he must have faced from those around him who didn't understand his purpose or the divine warning he received. His isolation was not just physical, but also a form of protection, keeping him focused on the task God set before him without being swayed by the disbelief of others. Now, how does this relate to us today? In our own lives, when we feel separated from others, sometimes it's hard to see it as anything but loneliness. But what is actually a protective measure by God? What if, in His infinite wisdom, He is shielding you from influences that might corrupt your spirit or deviate you from your path? It's worth considering that our times of solitude might actually be a cocoon, safeguarding us until we are ready to emerge stronger and more aligned with our faith. It can be a time where our focus is sharpened and our path cleared of obstacles we might not even be aware of. So, if you're feeling alone right now, consider that perhaps this is not just a trial, but a form of divine protection. Trust that God knows the environment you need to fulfill your purpose, and that sometimes being alone is the best way to keep you on that path. In embracing our moments of solitude, we can find strength and assurance, knowing that it's not just about being separated, but being prepared and protected for what's ahead. Remember, the greatest missions often require great protection, and sometimes that protection comes in the form of being set apart. The third reason why the chosen one is always alone and has no friends is deep personal reflection. Now, let's unpack this a bit. When we think about moments of solitude, they're often the times we dive deep into our thoughts, our beliefs, and our personal challenges. This isn't just about being alone. It's about engaging with our deepest selves, and sometimes this can only happen in isolation. Consider the prophet Elijah. After a significant victory on Mount Carmel, he fled into the wilderness, driven by fear and exhaustion. There, alone and isolated, he had a profound encounter with God, not in the earthquake or the fire, but in a gentle whisper. This moment of deep reflection and direct communication with God was pivotal and could only happen in solitude. This kind of deep, personal reflection is essential for anyone, but especially for those who feel called to a greater purpose. It's in these quiet moments that we often find clarity and insight that are drowned out by the noise of everyday life. In silence, we can hear God more clearly, understand our mission better, and come to terms with our own strengths and weaknesses. If you're finding yourself in a season of life where friends are few and your social calendar is empty, consider that this might be your wilderness moment. Like Elijah, your isolation might be the very setting you need for life-changing revelations and decisions. It's a time to ask the big questions. Who am I? What is God's purpose for me? How should I move forward? Embracing these moments of solitude for deep personal reflection can fundamentally change how you view yourself and your path. It can strengthen your resolve and deepen your faith, making you more resilient and focused on what truly matters. So, if you're walking this path of solitude, don't rush to fill the silence with noise. Instead, lean into it. Reflect, pray, and listen. You might be surprised by what you discover about yourself and about the plans God has for you. Remember, the path to deep personal understanding and spiritual maturity often runs through the quiet places of our lives. Let's cherish these moments of solitude, for they can be the very times we grow the most. The fourth reason why the chosen one is always alone and has no friends is unwavering focus. Let's delve into this. Have you ever noticed how easy it is to get distracted by the daily grind? Social gatherings, endless notifications, the hustle and bustle of daily life can all pull our attention in a million different directions. But for those who have a specific, divinely appointed mission, maintaining an unwavering focus is crucial, and sometimes that means stepping back from social engagements. Think about the Apostle Paul, a man with a mission that took him across the known world to spread the gospel. His letters often mentioned friends and companions, yet he also faced long periods of isolation, especially when imprisoned. These moments alone weren't wasted. Instead, they sharpened his focus, allowing him to write much of the New Testament, letters that would become foundational to Christian theology. Isolation can help filter out the noise and distractions that cloud our judgments and divert our attention from what is truly important. For those called to a significant task, like Paul, solitude isn't about loneliness, but about creating a space where focus can be honed to a razor's edge. So, if you find yourself feeling isolated, it's not always easy, and it can feel lonely, but the clarity that comes from such focus can lead to profound outcomes. This isn't just about avoiding distractions, either. It's about aligning your heart, soul, and mind towards one great purpose, and often that alignment requires periods of solitude where you can commune more deeply with God, free from the interruptions of everyday life. Therefore, if you're in a season of life where your social circles might be narrowing, think about how this might actually be a blessing in disguise. How is this solitude helping you to focus on your personal mission? How is it allowing you to think more deeply about your faith, your life, and your goals? Remember, the most impactful people throughout history often had periods of their lives marked by solitude. These times allowed them to focus intensely on their calling. Embrace your moments of solitude as a gift, a special time to focus on what truly matters, and perhaps to prepare for something great. The fifth reason why the chosen one is always alone and has no friends is prophetic isolation. Now, this is a concept that might seem a bit daunting at first. When we talk about prophets, we often imagine individuals who are not only spiritual leaders, but also somewhat removed from regular social interactions. This isolation isn't because they're unlikable or antisocial, but because their roles require a level of separation to maintain clarity and purity in their communication with God. Let's consider the life of Jeremiah, often called the weeping prophet. His messages from God were so challenging and countercultural that they isolated him from his community. His commitment to delivering these tough messages meant that he often stood alone, misunderstood, and marginalized by those he tried to reach. This prophetic isolation wasn't a punishment, but a necessary part of his role to remain uncompromised by popular opinion. The purpose of such isolation is to refine and clarify the prophet's message. It's about being in a place where one can hear God without the clutter of everyday life and conflicting voices. This can be a deeply lonely path, but it's also a path of incredible intimacy with God, where his voice becomes clearer and more discernible. If you ever feel like you're experiencing this kind of isolation, take a moment to consider whether there might be a larger reason behind it. Perhaps there's a message or purpose in your life that requires a degree of separation to understand fully. Maybe, like Jeremiah, your challenges in forming deep friendships are not a reflection of your worth, but rather a part of a greater plan that is unfolding. This type of isolation can be particularly tough because it often isn't chosen. It comes with the territory of being called to speak truth in a world that may not want to hear it. However, embracing this solitude can lead to profound spiritual growth and a clearer understanding of your mission. So, to everyone out there feeling isolated because you're committed to living out a difficult truth, know that your path is one that has been walked by many of the greatest figures in faith history. Your isolation may be your training ground, preparing you to deliver messages that can change hearts and renew spirits. Embrace this time of prophetic isolation, not as a sign of being unloved or unwanted, but as a sacred space where you are being shaped and readied to make a significant impact in the world. The sixth reason why the chosen one is always alone and has no friends is the testing and strengthening of faith. When we face times of isolation, it often feels like a test of our spirit and resolve. And in many ways, it is. These moments can serve as profound opportunities to deepen our faith, to rely not on our strength, but on God's. This isn't an easy process, but it is one that can lead to incredible spiritual growth. Take, for instance, the time Jesus spent in the desert. For 40 days and 40 nights, he was alone, fasting, and during this time, he was tempted by Satan. Yet, his faith was not only tested, but also strengthened through this ordeal. He emerged from the desert more ready than ever to embark on his ministry. His isolation was a critical period of preparation, a divine setup for the monumental task ahead. Now, think about your own moments of solitude. While they might not be as dramatic as 40 days in the wilderness, they hold a similar potential for deepening your faith. When you're alone, when you feel cut off from the world, that's when you find out what you truly believe. That's when you learn to lean on God's promises, even when they seem far away. These trials are not punishments. They are opportunities to grow closer to God, to forge a faith that is not easily shaken. They teach us resilience, deepen our understanding of divine reliance, and prepare us for future challenges where this strengthened faith will be our greatest asset. So, if you're going through a season of life where you feel like every day is a test of your faith, remember that this is also a season of potential profound growth. Each day you endure, each challenge you overcome while feeling alone, you are building a stronger, more enduring faith. Embrace these tests, not with fear or resentment, but with courage and optimism. Recognize them as moments where God is actively at work in your life, molding you into a vessel strong enough to withstand storms, yet sensitive enough to understand and embrace His subtlest whispers. Remember, the strongest faith is often forged in the fires of solitude. So hold on, keep moving forward, and let these times of testing become your times of greatest spiritual strength and clarity. The seventh reason why the chosen one is always alone and has no friends is leadership preparation. Let's consider this. Great leaders often emerge from periods of profound solitude. These moments away from the crowd aren't just breaks from social life. They're crucial times for developing the skills and wisdom needed to lead others effectively. Think about David, the shepherd boy who became a king. Before his confrontation with Goliath, before his reign over Israel, David spent countless days and nights alone in the fields, tending sheep. This wasn't glamorous work, and it was mostly solitary, but it was here that David learned leadership. He developed courage, responsibility, and a heart for God, all qualities that would define his kingship. This pattern of isolation leading to leadership isn't unique to David. Many of those called to lead find themselves separated from others at some point in their lives. This separation can be a training ground where future leaders learn to listen, not just to the voices around them, but more importantly, to God's voice. It's a time for potential leaders to gain clarity about their own values and the vision they will later impart to others. If you find yourself alone or set apart from your peers, think about how this time might be preparing you for a leadership role. Leadership requires not just charisma or the ability to attract followers. It demands depth of character, clarity of purpose, and a strong connection to divine guidance. These qualities are often forged in the quiet moments away from the world's noise. So, if you're in a season of solitude, consider how you might use this time to prepare for future responsibilities. Are there skills you can develop now while you have fewer distractions? Can you deepen your understanding of what true leadership involves? Serving others, making tough decisions, and staying true to your values. Remember, leadership is not just about being at the front of the line. It's about knowing the way, going the way, and showing the way. And sometimes, the best way to learn that path is to walk it alone first. So, embrace your moments of solitude as opportunities to prepare for the leadership God might be calling you into. This isn't just downtime, it's development time. Whether you're leading a family, a community, or a congregation, the lessons learned in solitude can help you lead with integrity, compassion, and wisdom. The 8th reason why the chosen one is always alone and has no friends is building resilience. Now, let's talk about resilience. It's that quality that allows us to bounce back from setbacks and challenges, stronger and more determined than before. And often, the foundation of resilience is built during times of solitude. Consider the story of Joseph. Sold into slavery by his own brothers, falsely accused, and thrown into prison, Joseph faced incredible loneliness and adversity. Yet, it was during these periods of isolation that his resilience was forged. Each challenge he overcame not only proved his faith, but also prepared him for greater responsibilities and triumphs ahead. When we find ourselves alone, it's easy to feel defeated or to think that we've been abandoned. But it's important to recognize that these moments can be crucial for developing our resilience. They teach us how to rely on God's strength and timing, not just our own. They stretch our faith and our patience, helping us grow into individuals capable of facing life's toughest challenges. If you're experiencing a season of solitude, think about how this might be a time when your resilience is being built. How are you handling the quiet moments? Are you turning to God and trusting in His plan, even when you can't see the way forward? These are the times that prepare us for future challenges, where the resilience we develop now becomes our greatest strength. So, rather than resisting the loneliness, embrace it as an opportunity to grow stronger. Reflect on the trials you've already overcome and how they've shaped you. Each of these experiences is like a stone laid in the foundation of your resilience. The more challenges you face and overcome, the more solid that foundation becomes. Remember, resilience isn't developed in easy times, but through overcoming difficult ones. So, if you find yourself alone, consider it a chance to build up your endurance, to strengthen your faith, and to prepare for the tasks God has in store for you. It's these quiet moments of struggle that can transform us into steadfast and resilient individuals, ready to face whatever comes our way with courage and confidence. Take heart and know that your current solitude isn't just a season to endure, but an important time to develop the resilience you'll need for the future. Every challenge faced alone is an opportunity to grow stronger and to prove that with God, you are never truly alone. The 9th reason why the chosen one is always alone and has no friends is creating a personal relationship with God. There's something incredibly profound about developing a personal relationship with God, and often this deep connection grows in moments of solitude. Think about it. When distractions fade and we're left with our thoughts and prayers, that's when we can truly dive deep into our relationship with God. Consider Jesus' own practices. Despite his busy ministry and constant companionship with the disciples, he made it a priority to withdraw to quiet places to pray. These moments alone were not just routine. They were essential for maintaining his intimate connection with the Father. It was during these times that he gained strength and clarity for his mission. Now, let's relate this to our own lives. When we find ourselves feeling isolated, it's easy to see it as a negative. However, what if we viewed these times as sacred opportunities to enhance our personal dialogue with God? Solitude can offer us a unique environment where we can ask the deepest questions, pour out our sincerest thoughts, and listen carefully to God's responses without the usual interruptions. If you're currently experiencing a period of loneliness, consider how this might actually be a divine invitation to explore your relationship with God more deeply. Are there prayers you've been holding back? Are there questions you need to ask Him? Use this time to engage with God openly and honestly, fostering a bond that is both personal and profound. Embrace this time alone as a gift, where the quietness is not an absence of noise, but a presence of divine opportunity. It's in these moments that we can find a clearer understanding of who God is and who we are in Him. And as we grow in this personal relationship, we find that we're never truly alone. God is always there, speaking to our hearts, guiding our steps, and nurturing our spirits. So, let's cherish these periods of solitude, not as times of unwanted isolation, but as precious moments to deepen our relationship with God. Remember, a strong personal connection with God is the foundation of a faith-filled life, and often it's built in the quiet, introspective moments we spend alone with Him. The 10th reason why the chosen one is always alone and has no friends is sacrificial love. Sacrificial love is one of the deepest expressions of true devotion, and it often requires a level of solitude. This isn't about being a loner. It's about the willingness to put aside personal desires and even relationships for a greater good. Let's think about Jesus and His ultimate sacrifice on the cross. His journey to Calvary was one of profound loneliness, not just physically, but spiritually, as He carried the weight of the world's sins. This concept of sacrificial love means that sometimes being chosen by God involves making tough decisions that might lead to solitude. It's about doing what's right, not what's easy, and often what's right requires us to stand alone. This could mean prioritizing time with God over social activities, or it might involve making ethical choices that aren't popular with our peers. Imagine the strength it takes to make these choices. This kind of love isn't just about feeling affection. It's about committing to actions that reflect God's love, even when they cost us our comfort or companionship. It's a powerful way to live, but it's also challenging. It can lead to feelings of isolation, as others may not understand or support your decisions. But here's the uplifting part. When we choose this path of sacrificial love, we align ourselves more closely with Jesus. We live out the very essence of the gospel. Each decision we make in this direction strengthens our character and deepens our relationship with God. It molds us into individuals who not only talk about faith, but actively live it out through our choices. So, if you find yourself feeling isolated because of your commitments to living out your faith, remember, you're embodying sacrificial love. You're walking a path similar to that of Christ, a path that is undoubtedly challenging, but incredibly rewarding. Embrace this journey, not as a burden, but as a profound expression of your faith. Know that your sacrifices do not go unnoticed by God. He sees your heart and the love you're showing by putting Him and His will first in your life. This sacrificial love is a beautiful, powerful testament to your faith, and it's what sets you apart as truly chosen for something greater. In conclusion, remember that while the road may be lonely at times, the destination, a life lived in true sacrificial love, is richly fulfilling and eternally significant. Well, there you have it, friends, 10 profound reasons why the chosen ones might often find themselves walking alone. It's not an easy path, but as we've seen, it's one filled with purpose, growth, and deep spiritual significance. If today's discussion resonated with you, or if you've ever felt isolated in your walk of faith, remember that you're in good company. The feelings of loneliness, the moments of solitude, they're not just random occurrences. They're often God's way of drawing us closer, preparing us for greater things, and building us up in ways we might not yet understand. As we close, I encourage you not to shy away from these moments of solitude, but to embrace them as opportunities to grow closer to God, to fortify your faith, and to prepare yourself for the amazing plans He has for you. Whether it's through developing unwavering focus, enhancing your personal relationship with God, or embodying sacrificial love, each step you take on this journey is significant. And now, if this video spoke to you, please consider sharing it with someone who might also find encouragement from it. Spread the word so others may find strength and understanding in their moments of solitude. Don't forget to hit that like button if you appreciated today's content. It really helps the channel. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. We have more inspiring videos coming your way, and we'd love for you to be part of our community. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. Remember, you're not alone in your journey. Every step, every moment of solitude is a part of your unique divine narrative being unfolded. Keep pressing forward, keep reaching upward, and keep your hearts open to what God is doing in your life. Stay blessed, stay inspired, and as always, keep walking in faith. See you in the next video.